Father Simon of the Collective says, Dave, my confession takes me back to when I was a young maths teacher in the early 1980s. And as I'm now coming to the end of my final year before retirement, how did that happen? It seems appropriate to finally get this story off my chest. Looking back from my current teaching environment of interactive whiteboards, Wi-Fi internet and seemingly infinite sources of resource material, my then classroom was from a different age. A world of blackboards and chalk, bander machines for duplicating worksheets, with a handle that you turned and it would like duplicate it.
That's a butter churn, isn't it?
No, it's a bander machine.
You're doing a butter churn action.
No, it's like a hand crank.
Did you make it up?
No, I'm reading it from David.
Is it like a fuel pump?
It's a bander machine for duplicating worksheets is what it is. Anyway, ask your parents. And large quantities of textbooks. No national curriculum. We had the quaint idea that we taught them useful and sometimes interesting maths, and there would be an exam at the end which may or may not cover what we'd taught.
That's nice.
The good old days. But critical to my story, the school I taught in actually had high-end technology for the time. You see, we had the use of a television on a trolley.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, be a lot of old teachers going, oh, I remember that. Now, this is one for the whole school of about 600 students, along with a VHS video machine. We even had a technician who would take programmes for us and then deliver the TV and the VHS to the classroom on the trolley at the appropriate time. Thus, the scene is set for my confession. I was a young, not very experienced teacher. My ability to keep my classes in line still had, shall we say, some way to go. And in a school with some pupils who seemed not to find my teaching the most inspiring thing they'd ever seen, I was glad of a half hour per week when I could put a video on. They would then happily sit watching Everyday Maths, a series which starred Arthur English and Jack Wilde and put small amounts of useful mathematics in a real-life context. I believe it's still out there on YouTube somewhere. So every Thursday afternoon, along would come the kindly technician with the TV trolley, video already in place and forwarded to the start of the programme. I would quickly check it as my Year 10 class were arriving, then we would settle down to half an hour of bliss. Then I would rewind the tape and wheel the trolley outside the classroom where my colleague, another young maths teacher, would be waiting to take it next door to enjoy his half hour of calm with his Year 10s. This particular Thursday, I noticed that the technician had left another video on top of the trolley, presumably the one he had just taken out to put my maths video in. A quick glance showed me it was a human biology video.
Oh, yeah!
Well, there's maths in that.
Are there? What's that then?
Another time.
Lovely. Look forward to that.
A possible jape started to form in my weary, in need of a holiday brain. Did I mention this took place on April the 1st? Well, it did. I put the video in the machine and discovered that it was, in fact, a video of childbirth. Oh, I imagine that's the slight PG warning. Okay. Anyway, I forwarded it to the exact moment of birth, took the video out as my class were arriving for the lesson. We then happily watched Arthur and Jack in the classic episode, What's the Point? A fine tale of what can go wrong in a shop if the decimal point is in the wrong place. You see, that's fun mathematics.
It is. Great title as well, well done.
At the end, I confessed to my class that I was about to play an April Fool on Mr. Spielberg next door. Now, this isn't his real name, although he did share his surname with another film director. Oh, intriguing. Telling them the bare bones of what I'd done, I swapped the videos and wheeled the trolley out to him. It's all set up, I said, innocently and jocularly. Before retreating to my classroom, we waited and listened. I have never, before or since, had such a quiet classroom. And then, I'm now almost ashamed to say, to my great delight, there was an explosion of noise from next door. Screams, and then groans, and then laughter. I went into the corridor with the correct video to find Mr. Spielberg outside the room with a rather pale young man. I handed the tape over with as straight a face as I could muster and retreated quickly back to my room. I imagine you can see that apologies are obviously in order. Mr. Spielberg, to his credit, was great. We had many a chuckle about it over the following weeks, so I don't need to apologise to him. My class were fine. They thought it was hilarious and much more interesting than my usual lesson. Similarly with his class, I did wonder in the days that followed whether I'd be summoned deservedly into the head teacher's office following a complaint from a parent, but all stayed quiet. So no apology needed there. The technician never knew what had happened either. Which only leaves one person, the rather sickly-looking young man who was outside Mr. Spielberg's classroom. As I later discovered, he'd been so shocked by what he'd seen that Mr. Spielberg had thought he was about to faint, so helped him out of the classroom. Apology clearly needed there. Fortunately, from my recollection of his remaining years at school, I don't think there was any permanent damage. But looking back now, I can see how unprofessional my behaviour was. Would I get away with it now? Almost certainly not. Would I even try it now? Definitely not. Do I feel sorry? Well, I guess so, but it was very funny at the time and still makes me smile. Maybe I'll use the story in my leaving speech in a few months' time.
Wow.
You see, with the wisdom of ages, David now feels it's okay. I mean, that's a pretty harmless prank, I would think. Swapping maths for human biology. Anyway, they all had a good time at the time. Let's see what Sister Bobby's going to be thinking about that.
It was hilarious, I have to say. Really, really funny. I loved it. Having said that, you're a teacher. You're meant to hold
Classic Bobby. Classic Bobby.
higher ground than anybody else, and you're meant to set an example. So you know I can't forgive you. Actually, I might have forgiven you if you turned it into maths. You know, what percentage of the class will be running out in 10 minutes' time, maybe.
I wonder where that sentence was going to go.
See? Where could he have gone? It's me, for God's goodness. Anyway, what am I going to say, really?
Everyone else was thinking the same as me.
We were.
What percentage of the class? What?
Go on.
Anyway, you're not forgiven, even though we're laughing.
That takes me back to the games that invigilators played during exams.
yes.
Go and stand next. Yeah, okay, I'll go
Student
and do that
most
one.
likely to. Yeah.
Exactly. Brother Matthew.
Yes, I am definitely going to forgive. I mean, obviously, the kids were going to have to see that video at some point anyway. It was going to come up in human biology, so seeing it in maths, I don't think is any great shakes. And I remember those TVs on the trolley where the teacher would spend the first 20 minutes trying to get the video to work, and then when I'm pressing play, it's not playing, and because the tape is out. Have you not got a VHS at home, sir? Come on. And so they've got a technician in this school, so I'm going to forgive just for having a technician whose job it was to get everything sorted in the first place. So yes, forgive.